Jay and I traveled to Iceland for 10 days to see as much of this beautiful country as possible, and the best way to do that was by renting a camper van and driving the island's ring road.
In this video, we're gonna walk you through our exact 10-day itinerary, tell you how much it costs, and tell you everything you need to know about traveling to Iceland. But before we get into our itinerary, we wanna answer a couple of the most asked questions about Iceland and driving the Ring Road. Iceland is famous for having one of the most diverse landscapes on the planet. And as a result, your trip to Iceland will look very different depending on the time of year that you visit. Summer is by far the most popular time to visit Iceland. It's when everything is green, you have the most accessibility to see all of the major sites. There's wildlife, hiking, the midnight sun giving you extended daylight to do all of this, as well as ideal road conditions. Winter, on the other hand, is best for seeing the northern lights, skiing, as well as seeing the ice caves. Because we went in the shoulder season, prices were much more affordable, there were smaller crowds, but we also experienced all kinds of weather conditions. The Ring Road itself is a smooth, paved road, which would take about 16 to 20 hours to drive non-stop. And although this drive can be done in about 5 to 7 days, we would highly encourage you to spend at least 8+ days in order to enjoy all that the country has to offer. For most ring roaders, all you're gonna need is a 2-wheel drive car. However, a lot of people are interested in looking into a 4x4 to be able to drive some of the F-roads into the interior of the island to see some of those landscapes and get away from the crowds. A few other odds and ends is that Iceland uses the Icelandic krona for currency. However, credit and debit cards are widely accepted all over the island. Tipping may not be common or expected in Iceland. However, for exceptional service, a small tip of 5 to 10% is always appreciated. And just like any international destination, it is always smart to have travel adapters for outlets. And if you don't have one, we'll have a bunch of great ones linked down in the description. Because of how we laid out our trip, we visited a geothermal pool every few days, and we use this as an awesome opportunity to go ahead and sneak in a shower. However, most of the campsites you'll be staying at should have toilets and shower facilities. As for cooking and food, you'll quickly find out that anywhere you go out to eat, a plate will cost you at least $20 per person, which means cooking and shopping at the grocery store is going to make for a much more affordable trip. You'll find grocery stores like Bonus and Cronin just about everywhere around the Ring Road. We made a grocery stop just about every single day in order to restock. Just keep in mind that some stores may be closed on Sundays. As for how to find campsites, there are over 200 campsites scattered all over the island, with most being open from May to September. If you're traveling in the shoulder seasons, last minute bookings are easier to manage as there's lots of space available. However, during peak season, make sure to make reservations. For even more information, we're gonna leave our complete Iceland travel guide right here that has all the details on packing lists, weather conditions, and things you'll need to know for your trip.
So here is our exact recommendation for a 10-day ring road trip around Iceland. Day 1 is your first travel day. It is when you arrive to Iceland, and you're most likely going to arrive to the KEF airport, which is the main international airport on the island. If you're picking up a camper van like us, most camper van companies, including the ones we listed at the beginning of this video, are going to be able to provide you some sort of transportation from the airport to their office so that you can pick up your van. Once you pick up your van, we recommend doing a little grocery run. There are a few grocery stores right over by all the camper van offices, and then after grabbing groceries and your van, we recommend heading over to the Blue Lagoon. The Blue Lagoon is one of the most famous things to do in Iceland, and it is only 20 minutes from the airport and the camper van offices, and in our opinion, it is the perfect way to relax and reset after a long travel day. Over the past few years, there have been a lot of volcanic eruptions in this area of the island, which could impact your ability to visit the Blue Lagoon. We have a link right here for Blue Lagoon tickets, and we also have a link for current volcanic activity down in the description. And I know Blue Lagoon has a lot of controversy, whether it is a tourist trap or so worth the hype. In Jay and I's opinion, we absolutely loved the Blue Lagoon and definitely think it's worth visiting. To end the day, you are going to drive for your first campsite, and you're going to start driving towards the southern side of the island, making the total drive time for this day close to 1 hour and 45 minutes. On day 2, you're going to kick off on the southern side of the island. This is one of the most popular spots on the island, so you might expect some crowds here. In the morning, your first stop is going to be Seljalandsfoss, and this is that famous waterfall that you can actually walk walk behind. Something you will immediately notice at Seljalandsfoss, which is the first of the major attractions around Iceland that you'll be visiting, is pretty much at all of these main lookouts and stops, you do have to pay for parking. So if you're trying to estimate that cost, you can download the Parka app, which lets you pay ahead of time or just estimate costs. You can always pay in person as well. It's usually somewhere between $3 to $7 US, so it's not terribly expensive, but it is important to factor in knowing that you're going to pay for parking probably at least once a day, if not multiple times a day. When you're at Seljalandsfoss, be sure to walk along the hiking trail to the secret waterfall that is just next door. It is less than half a mile away down a canyon, and you can walk through the river and get a very cool view of another waterfall as well, and that should definitely not be missed. After Seljalandsfoss, you're going to drive just down the road to Skógafoss, and Skógafoss is probably the most famous and iconic waterfall in Iceland. It is on that black sand beach and a huge towering waterfall. Plus, you'll see a very tall staircase that leads up to the top of the waterfall, and a lot of people stop there and just look over the edge, but we highly recommend hiking back into the highlands behind the waterfall. There are tons more waterfalls you can see back there, and you can kind of choose how far you want to go. On our trip, we went about 2.5 miles back, making for a 5-mile round trip before we came back to the car. One more note about Skógafoss: because this is one of the most famous spots in Iceland, it can get very crowded and busy, but one of our favorite campsites throughout the entire trip was staying at the Skógar campsite, which is actually just right in the parking lot of Skógafoss. And for us, that allowed us to have the waterfall pretty much all to ourselves around sunset and sunrise because no one else was there. So we highly recommend, if there's one campsite you're going to reserve ahead of time, reserve the Skógar campsite so that you can stay and hang out there as long as possible. And the total drive time for day 2 between those two waterfalls is around 1 hour and 30 minutes. On day 3, you are continuing around the south side of the island towards the town of Vik. I'm going to butcher some of the names for today's itinerary, but your first stop is going to be the Dyrhólaey Lighthouse. A lot of people skip this part and just go straight to the black sand beach, but we highly recommend building this stop in. After the lighthouse and looking at the coastal cliffs, you're going to continue on to the black sand beach. This has the famous basalt columns, and you will definitely recognize this beach from Instagram. Again, it can feel a bit like a tourist trap because it is so busy. We still think it's definitely worth a stop. It is important to know that the waves at this beach are particularly dangerous, so we recommend staying out of the water and staying far from the water since there are incidents of people getting sucked out to sea here. The main photo spot at this beach is at those basalt columns, and most people congregate around that area, but if you want to get away from the crowds, you can just walk down the beach a bit and enjoy all of the views with no one else around. The black sand beach is right in the town of Vik, and something we didn't do but I wish we did is go to the Black Crust Pizzeria on our way out of Vik just for some fun local cuisine and yummy pizza. Next, you are going to have a big drive to a canyon that I'm not even going to try to pronounce. Apparently Icelandic people even have a hard time pronouncing it, but you may recognize this canyon from a Justin Bieber music video, and it can be a quick stop or a longer hike around depending on how much time you have. And the final stop of the day is Skógafoss Waterfall, which is just outside of Vatnajökull National Park, where you'll start the day tomorrow, bringing the total drive time for this day to 3 hours and 50 minutes. Day 4 is spent exploring the Vatna Glacier, which is one of the largest glaciers in all of Europe. Because we visited in April and there were still a lot of ice caves in the area, we chose to do a glacier trek and ice cave experience, which was one of the highlights of our trip for sure. Even if you're not visiting in the spring when you can visit ice caves, you could do glacier treks all summer long, which we would definitely recommend since just hiking on the glacier was also so cool. After the glacier trek, you'll make your way to the Glacial Lagoon and Diamond Beach. These are actually right next to each other because the glaciers from the Glacier Lagoon will drift out to sea and wash up on the beach, creating the diamonds on the beach. Something we realized as we visited this spot is that the diamonds, the icebergs on the beach, are not always there. It does depend on the tides. So for us, we didn't actually get to see the diamonds on Diamond Beach. We did, however, get to see the Glacial Lagoon at sunset, which was absolutely beautiful, and we highly recommend that time to visit that spot of the island. And the total drive time for day 4 is 2 hours. Day 5 is a huge drive day across the eastern side of the island, and for us, we found this to be one of the most scenic parts of the entire Ring Road Drive. You'll start your day in Hoffen, which offers incredible views of Mount Vesterhorn, and then as you make your way around the island, we recommend stopping at Vok Baths, which is another one of the paid geothermal pools, very similar to the Blue Lagoon or Sky Lagoon, but it was a bit smaller and had more of a local feel and was definitely one of our favorite stops. After Vok Baths, you'll make your way over to Stuðlagil Canyon, and this is one of those spots on the island that drastically changes depending on the time of year. Since we visited in April, it was still very snowy and hard to access the actual actual canyon, but some of the photos and videos we've seen from peak summer look absolutely stunning. And the total drive time for day 5 is 5 hours. On day 6, you've officially made your way onto the northern side of the island, and if you're visiting in the shoulder seasons like us, this is where you'll really notice a change in the climate. For us, we had all sun and clear hiking trails in the southern side, and once we got to the north, it was still full-on winter and very snowy. And day 6 is one of those days that if you were trying to shorten your ring road trip, you can skip this day. Because we had such winter conditions, we didn't actually make it to do any of the things on day 6, but they would be some of the first things we do if we go back to Iceland. You'll start your day at Dyrhólaey, which is one of the largest waterfalls in Europe, and then make your way up to the town of Húsavík, which is known for world famous whale watching. Also in Húsavík, we have heard that Geysir geothermal pools is one of the most beautiful geothermal pools and hot springs in all of Iceland. We will include a link to all the geothermal pools that we mentioned down in the description. And the total drive time for day 6 up to Húsavík is 2.5 hours. On day 6, you are making your way down to the Mývatn area of the island. Here you can visit the Geysir area, and this is very similar to a mini Yellowstone. There's also another geothermal pool called Mývatn Nature Baths that a lot of people say is a great alternative to the Blue Lagoon because it does have that milky blue water, but it's a bit more affordable and a bit less crowded. And then you'll make a big drive towards the town of Akureyri, which is actually the second biggest city in all of Iceland. On your way, you'll stop at Gullfoss waterfall, and then once you get to Akureyri, we highly recommend making a stop for some fun Icelandic food. We chose to stop at Brinja, which is some classic Icelandic ice cream. And after grabbing some food in Akureyri, we recommend stopping at Fosslaug, which is your first natural hot springs of this itinerary that you don't have to pay for. You can just park and hike in and use the hot springs. The total drive time for day 7 is 6 hours. You will notice with all of the natural hot springs in Iceland, they are significantly different from the paid geothermal pools. They are much smaller, so like Fosslaug, it is just one small pool that you are likely to be sharing with anyone else that's over there, so there may not be room to get in. Be willing to make some friends with some strangers. On day 8, you have almost completed your way around the ring road, and you're gonna make a little detour to explore the Snæfellsnes Peninsula. A lot of people skip this part, but we think it is definitely worth the detour and not to be skipped. Your first stop on the Snæfellsnes Peninsula is Kirkjufell and Kirkjufoss, which is that famous mountain you might recognize from Game of Thrones, and a waterfall right next door. Next, you're gonna make your way to the town of Arnarstapi, and we loved visiting the Arnarstapi coastal cliffs. It is just a cute, fun little walk along the seashore, and it is so beautiful. Also in this area, there's a canyon that I'm not even going to try to pronounce that is just a quick little walk up from the parking lot, but very cool to explore. And you have to end the day in true Icelandic fashion with a visit to a hot springs. So if you're looking for a free and natural hot springs, you can go to Landbrotalaug hot springs, which is very easy to find, but is a very small pool, probably best for only 2 people. Or if you're looking for the paid experience, we've heard great things about Hamsvik hot springs also in that area. And the total drive time for day 8 is 5 hours. Now we have made it to day 9, and again, day 9 is one of those days you could skip if you're trying to do the 8-day itinerary instead of a 10-day itinerary. On day 9, you are exploring the Golden Circle part of the island, which centers around Þingvellir National Park. It is also one of the most visited spots on the island because it is so close to Reykjavik, and even though it's very popular, this area might feel a bit underwhelming to you after exploring the rest of the ring road. But the main event is snorkeling at the Silfur Pond, where you can actually snorkel between these 2 tectonic plates in crystal clear and freezing cold water. Also in this area is another natural hot spring thermal river that might be worth the detour. And the total drive time for this day of the trip is 3 hours. And finally, we have made it to day 10, wrapping up your trip in Iceland, and day 10 is spent exploring Reykjavik, which is Iceland's capital city. Jay and I are usually not huge fans of cities, but we actually really enjoyed Reykjavik. We found it very clean, very friendly, and very walkable. In our opinion, the best thing to do would be to park your car and just take a walk around the center of town. Either take yourself on a self-guided food tour or book a food tour if you want to go with a guide and truly explore the best spots. Other important landmarks right in that center of town are the famous church and the Rainbow Road, which make for great photo opportunities. And you can't leave Reykjavik or Iceland altogether without trying an Icelandic hot dog. That is the food to try, and as someone who doesn't like hot dogs, I actually really enjoyed the hot dog that I had in Reykjavik. And finally, in Reykjavik, we do recommend visiting the Sky Lagoon. Again, this is one of those paid geothermal pools, but what sets the Sky Lagoon apart is its main lagoon is an infinity style pool looking over the ocean, and they also offer a 7-step ritual, which includes the coolest sauna in the world. And then they also offer a body scrub, a steam room, cold plunge, and other great amenities. Overall, the Sky Lagoon tends to be a bit more modern than the Blue Lagoon, but both are very awesome, distinct experiences, and if it's in the budget, we recommend visiting both. The total drive time for day 10 is just 30 minutes because you're just staying in the Reykjavik area. And that is your full Iceland itinerary. great.
And as promised, we want to give you guys a complete cost breakdown of our entire trip. To get to Iceland, our flights cost us $650 per person. The big ticket item, which covers both lodging and transportation, is going to be your van rental, which ran us $2,800 for a two-wheel drive van that slept 4 people. But depending on when you travel and how many people you travel with, you should be able to find smaller camper vans for around $1,000. We also opted out of using the rental car company's insurance and opted to use our credit card's automotive coverage. And then instead of upgrading to use their bedding, we brought our own sleeping bags. We would recommend purchasing their Wi-Fi to go with your van or getting an eSIM to make sure that you have internet coverage all throughout the country. And then I will say, driving a manual versus an automatic will save you about $300. In order to drive the 828 miles around the entire ring road will run you about $470 in gas. That being said, prices right now are about $9.28 per gallon. And then between campsites and parking, those will run you about $200, give or take. And then to feed me for 10 days, granted, I'm a pretty budget traveler, will cost around $550, which brings our grand total to $4,670 for a trip to Iceland. Make sure to check out our full Iceland guide, as it includes all of our campsites, packing list, and customizable trip itinerary. If you liked this video or found it valuable in any way, please make sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons, and we'll catch you next time for another best day ever.